Welcome to Everyday Linux User. This is a review of OpenSUSE. OpenSUSE was the second Linux distribution that I ever used back in the early 2000s. The first was Mandrake, which became Mandriva and then Mageia. OpenSUSE is one of the major Linux distributions, and it isn't a respin built on top of other distributions. It has its own developers, ecosystem and repositories. Installing OpenSUSE is much like installing Debian. As with other distributions, you download an ISO image, you install it to a USB drive, and then boot from the USB drive onto the machine you want to install OpenSUSE onto. Unlike Mint or Ubuntu or many other distributions, you don't try OpenSUSE before installation in a live environment. You just install it. The installation options are straightforward. There's a video on this channel providing a step-by-step guide showing you how to do so if you want to. One of the options whilst installing lets you pick which of the desktop environments you want to use, so you can install KDE, GNOME, XFCE or a multiple of desktop environments. The version I'm reviewing today is KDE, KDE Plasma. And when you first boot into OpenSUSE, you get a welcome screen like this one, and it has links to documentation and support pages. So why are we reviewing OpenSUSE today? Well, here's the DistroWatch website, and this is available at distrowatch.org. And what DistroWatch is, it provides news and reviews of Linux distributions. Now, down the right hand side is a ranking list, and it shows how many people have clicked on the links for each particular distribution. Now, over the past few months, I've been reviewing the entire top 10, and I've got videos for the other 9 in the top 10, and OpenSUSE, whilst it's number 9 on the list, this week it was number 10 last week, which is why I'm doing it this week. I've now completed the other 9. So the distributions I reviewed previously include MX Linux, Endeavour, Mint, Manjaro, Pop, Fedora, Debian, Ubuntu and Linux Lite, and there's a review for each of these on the site. And I'm also building up an 80-second review list for people whose attention spans, or they just want a short synopsis of what the distribution is about. The OpenSUSE website can be found at OpenSUSE.org, and there are 2 versions available. There's Tumbleweed, which is a roll release distribution, and then you've got Leap, which is more traditional standard release once every 6 months or a year, etc. And this is the one I'd recommend for most users. The information for the OpenSUSE distribution says new and experienced Linux users get the most usable Linux distribution and stabilized operating system with OpenSUSE's regular release. Receive updates and harden your OS with OpenSUSE's latest major distribution. Pick your desktop, configure your system, and enjoy the platform of choice for Linux developers, administrators, and software vendors. So the desktop is a standard KDE Plasma desktop with a panel at the bottom. There's a guide on this channel if you want to view it that shows you how to customize KDE if you wish to do so. Hardware wise, the Wi-Fi card works without any issue as shown here. Even though I generally use an Ethernet cable, you can see that if I want to I can choose any one of the Wi-Fi networks within range. Printer setup is a little bit more tricky. I have a HP printer, but I'll show you how you would install other printers. You'll see here an error appears when you try and add a printer. It turns out you have to enter the root user and root password to get past this screen. The print setup didn't find my printer, so I'll try and enter the IP of the printer instead. And at this point you can see that another error appears because it couldn't find any valid drivers for my printer. Now, I've had this before with other distributions. HP printers, you can actually install a piece of software called HP Lip. So I'm going to show you one of the package managers that comes with OpenSUSE, and that's called Yast, Yast software. Simply open Yast and search for HP Lip, click accept and install the software. If you get stuck at any point, you can Google most things and you will find support, or you can also use the support options available from the welcome screen. So you open the HP Lip software and click set up to set up the device. As you can see, another error appeared, but if I enter the IP address of the printer, it should find it. You can usually find the IP address within the print settings on the printer itself. My printer has now been found, and you can see I can successfully connect to it. So setting up printers isn't as slick as some other distributions. There are some that pick up the driver straight away without any hassle. OpenSUSE isn't one of them. When it comes to theming, OpenSUSE has done it very well. Everything seems to integrate nicely. The menu's nice. The theming, it's nice to look at. And you get a number of applications installed by default, as I'll show here. The ISO for OpenSUSE is 4 GB in size, so you would expect that. If you don't like the application installed, it is a big download for what you were getting. So 4 GB, just so you can get a choice of desktop and a few applications you don't want. There are a few games installed by default. So you've got Mine, Sudoku, Solitaire, all. Graphics programs include LibreOffice Draw, a photo manager called GwenView, which I'll show you shortly, and a document viewer. Under the Internet heading, you get Firefox as the web browser, Kmail as the mail client, you get an IRC chat client, a VLC viewer for remoting onto other machines. VLC Media Player is installed under Multimedia, which we'll come to later. It's worth noting Simple Screen Recorder isn't installed by default. This was installed in order to make this video. LibreOffice is a default office suite as expected. And then under System, there's File Manager, there's Discover Software Manager, and YaST Software Manager. YaST is part of OpenSUSE, and Discover is part of KDE. And then under Utilities, there's notepads, text editors, archive tools, etc. So as you can see here, GwenView is the photo manager that's installed with OpenSUSE. You can import photos from a folder of your choosing, and then you can do things with those photos. So as you can see here, I can select a photo, I can zoom in and zoom out. You can also create a slideshow, which I'm going to show you here, and you can navigate through that slideshow. Once you get to the beginning, it will tell you, and then you can use the arrows to go back the other way, and you can set it to run automatically if you want to as well. There's no image editor installed by default with OpenSUSE, but you can always install GIMP from one of the package managers. LibreOffice, that works as expected. It's not as quick at loading compared to Linux Lite or some of the other distributions. The version is 7.4, the latest version you'll find is I think 7.5, so it's not that far behind. Kmail is the email client. I'll show you how to set up Kmail now, and you can use it to connect to standard mail clients or mail services such as Gmail. There is a security system called KDE Wallet that you can use to store sensitive passwords. I'm not going to do that here, but you can do that if you want. What I did notice was there's lots of little screens and questions to answer, so it's a bit fiddly to get your mail set up, but eventually, as you can see, I managed to do so. I guess most people use their browser or phones to monitor their email nowadays. Firefox is the default browser, and here is my YouTube channel. Please take this opportunity to subscribe, and if you like the video, click that like button. So something I noticed while using VLC Media Player, and I'll show you it here, it doesn't quite work as expected. So whilst recording the video, I've recorded it in a number of different parts. So I'll show you opening the first part of the video, and you'll notice when I skip forward the video, it crashes VLC. I've looked up online what this could be, and it could be the file format of the video, which is MKV. But to get around this, I installed Dragon Player, and you can see that this plays the video perfectly, and skipping forward and backwards works as expected. So VLC doesn't seem to work quite as well as I'd like. It's also worth noting there's no audio player installed, and so now we're going to look at how you install software. There are a number of methods available for installing software. Some are more successful than others. I found this a bit trying, this experience. The first piece of software is YaST software, and this comes with OpenSUSE, and it's like a graphical front end to their command line tool, which is Zipper. And essentially, you've seen this one earlier when I installed the HP Lip software. And you can see that I can search for any package such as audio players, and a list will appear. And I can search by name such as Rhythmbox, and I can search for Clementine, and this is the one that I will install. Another way to install software is using OpenSUSE software, which opens in a browser. And this gives you the opportunity to search for software, and you can limit it to the version of OpenSUSE you're using, such as Leap, and then you can click install. It is important that you choose the correct version. You can see that it isn't really one click though. You can also see that it seems to do a lot of work just for installing a simple color picker. Another tool you can use for installing software is Discover. This is a KDE package. As you can see, I can search for Chromium and it was there, and Steam's there. It's worth noticing, if you look in the top right corner, that Steam shows as loading only, and it won't actually ever let you click the install button. It's also worth noticing that some packages aren't available, such as Chrome and Spotify. Whilst I'm here, it's worth noting that you can also search for packages to install from the main menu, as shown here. So I can search for different packages such as Steam, Lutris, etc. To get discovered to show things like Chrome and Spotify and packages like that, you can install Flatpak repositories. And to do that, open up a browser and go to flatpak.org/setup/OpenSUSE, and then follow the instructions. Now, I don't normally recommend blindly copying and pasting commands into a terminal unless you understand what they are doing, but I can confirm this site is safe. So what you want to do is open a terminal. You can do that by pressing Ctrl-Alt and Delete, and then copy and paste each command into the terminal and run them one at a time. So I had a few problems, as you can see, there's a little bit of red, and that's because of the repositories from the one-click install. But ultimately, Flatpak was already installed, so all I had to do was the second command, which was add the repository, and as you see there. And the final step is to install Flatpak, is to reboot the computer. You won't see that, it's going to happen automatically. So I rebooted and opened Discover, and you can see that it says certain packages are missing. And a quick Google search that one-click install could prove problematic. Now, I don't think this was the cause of my Flatpak issues, but I did have various issues whilst trying to get this working. Yast took a long time to load, and then it showed an error, and then the error stated that the package manager was locked, and it turns out there's a little message in the bottom right corner mentioning updates, and this was stopping Yast from opening. So closing that error caused Yast to work, and then you can see another error appeared. At the point of conceding defeat, I opened Discover one more time, and suddenly the Flatpaks appear, and as you can see, Spotify is available, and if I click install, it starts to install. Chrome is available, and that can also be installed. Notice that Steam is still showing a loading screen at this point. Spotify showed a further error about being aborted due to a lack of permissions, as you can see, and this actually turns out to be because there's a pop under. It's supposed to enter your username and password, but it popped under this window. And so Spotify was stuck at 99% due to this, and it was waiting for a password, which wasn't brilliant. Eventually I managed to get Spotify to install, and oddly it gets to 100%, then it goes 0 to 100% again, and then again, and then again. But eventually we had success, and you can see that I can open Spotify, and then Chrome followed suit. The one thing to note is you don't get the icons. Steam, however, is still shown in Discover as stuck at loading, but you can switch to the Flatpak version and then you can install it. So what this tells me is that you can't really install normal packages via Discover, and I don't know why. but I recommend, I guess, using Yast for this purpose. Talking of Yast, there's another Yast tool which acts as the control panel. You can manage software, hardware using this tool, and you can manage repositories, screens, keyboards, firewalls, users, and things like that. You can amend the wallpaper in KDE simply by right-clicking on the desktop and choosing to add your own images as shown here. So you can pick one of the default images, or you can just choose one of your own. So the next thing I'm going to show you is audio. So if I open Clementine, I can add a folder in to choose where the music is stored. And I've got a couple of royalty-free tracks. One's going to be linked in the description because that's the one I'm going to be playing. You can hear that one here. Now I'm going to turn on my Bluetooth speaker and add a new device. You see that when I added it the first time it failed, but then I tried again and it's connected, and you can faintly hear music playing in the background for a couple of seconds. At this point it cuts out. I'm not sure why, and I think I could get it working if I wanted to. It might be the battery's low on the speaker itself, so it could be as simple as that. So to summarise my OpenSUSE experience, so the installation is straightforward and the desktop and theming looks great. The default packages are reasonable and will suit most audiences, and I think you get different packages depending on the desktop you install. Hardware support is good but not perfect, so Wi-Fi works, Bluetooth kind of worked, printers worked to a fashion once I installed the HP Lip software, but it didn't find my printer. I had to enter the IP address. What did cause a drama though was installing software. Yast proved slow at times. There were pop-ups stopping it from working, and then for Discover it kept packages at the loading screen, and then we had pop-unders asking for credentials which you didn't know it required. I had problems with the one-click install. It wasn't really one click, and it seemed to add in repositories for no good reason, which then caused me problems further on down the line, and I would definitely steer clear of using one-click install. So at the end, Discover could be used for installing Flatpaks, but it was initially hit and miss as to how to get that working. But Discover couldn't be used for installing on Flatpaks and got stuck at the loading screen, so Yast is the best method for that. All in all, the distribution would be decent if it weren't for these issues, but I have to be honest, I have to wonder why you would use this over something like Mint, MX, Pop or Manjaro when you don't seem to get these problems. That is the end of the review. If you like it, hit the thumbs up, leave me a comment or two, and hit that subscribe button if you wouldn't mind, and thank you for watching.